Because developing late last night, 14 states' attorneys general have hit a roadblock in their efforts to stop Elon Musk and Doge. The attorneys general argued that Trump violated the appointments clause of the Constitution by creating Doge, an unofficial government agency without congressional approval, and by granting Musk sweeping powers without seeking the advice and consent of the Senate. But federal judge Tanya Chutkan didn't seem convinced that the states showed enough evidence of imminent harm. At one point, Chutkan told a lawyer from the Maryland Attorney General's office, quote, "You're essentially asking me to shut down the government." The lawyer replied, "We're asking you to shut down a constitutional violation that we haven't seen in this country." Joining us now, Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown. Welcome.
General Brown, good morning to you. Where do you go from here on that particular effort?
So we're in court in the District of Columbia. Arguments yesterday. All of these arguments are tough. These are tough cases. We're filing proposed orders today. Look, what we're alleging is that Elon Musk and his sort of designation as some super employee violates the appointments clause. The Constitution says if you're going to wield that kind of power as a federal official, you've got to be properly vetted and go through a confirmation process with the United States Senate. He's done none of that. He's got access to financial data, personal information. It's dangerous. So we're in court. We're going to propose an order, and you know it was a difficult hearing yesterday, but we'll continue pursuing it, propose an order, get a good result, and continue litigating this issue.
Let's read what Judge Chutkan said, because it is. She seemed to express a lot of skepticism yesterday, and this is reporting from yesterday. Judge Chutkan repeatedly questioned what imminent harm the states were facing from Musk and Doge's work that would warrant an incredibly broad temporary restraining order. She also said that plaintiffs' use of words like perhaps and may when describing how states could be harmed by Doge's actions undercut their argument that irreversible harm was imminent. You're saying I should tell Doge and their officials to stop what they're doing because we don't know what they're doing, she said. And this is from Daniel Barnes of NBC News. So what is your take on this, General Brown? Are you all going to come back and retool your argument to narrow it a little more, your motion here? Or do you believe that the broadness of the suit that you all have brought is warranted?
I think it's warranted, the broad nature of the suit. We're going to be responsive to the judge's request. But look, in Maryland alone, the central payment system in the U.S. Treasury sends $11 billion to the state of Maryland, $50 billion to the residents of Maryland. We've seen Elon Musk go literally into federal agencies, telling them to shut down without using the proper procedures and protocol. So this is a dangerous person in a very important position. So we're saying to the judge, we've got to stop this. And as a minimum, right, access to the central payment system, the ability to go into agencies, because that does have direct harm on Marylanders and residents throughout the country.
General, this reminds me so much of situations in which you bring concern, evidence, facts to an argument, to a case, and folks say, well, essentially, we got to wait till something bad happens before we do something, which is why I think a lot of folks out here are beginning to express, as our friend Elie Mystal we were talking about before, that the courts are not going to save us in this. That, with all due respect to the lawsuits, and that's great, continue suing. At the end of the day, you're going to have judges who are going to parse, and they're going to, piecemeal. They're going to approach this from a appropriate judicial, constitutional perspective. But do you get the sense that, and I know you're in a tough position when I ask this question, do you get the sense that, they don't get that this is, the house is on fire? It may not be burning in the room you're in, but the back porch is on fire, right? And it's spreading into the kitchen. And when it hits the stove, it could be a massive explosion. So, I mean, how do you frame this up so that you don't die on the hill of, oh, it's just too broad, and I can't rule because it's too broad.
Keep in mind that a lot of the issues presented to courts, I mean, these are difficult questions, balancing the authority of the president versus the rights of residents and the interests of states. But we've enjoyed some successes thus far. The birthright citizenship, we got a temporary restraining order, and not just attorneys general in an action brought in Maryland, where the federal government wants to, withhold money when gender-affirming care services are provided by an institution. There's been successes there. We've enjoyed successes in the court in Rhode Island when it comes to the federal funding freeze. So judges are observing, they're seeing, they're appreciating the real harm that could be caused across this country, the chaos, withholding benefits and services and funding to families and communities and residents who have relied on this forever. And look, the president has awesome authority and awesome power, but it's not unlimited. And in exercising that authority, courts recognize there's a process, there are rules and statutes that govern that. So I think courts see that, and we're seeing some early successes. And not to raise expectations, this is the early stage of litigation, but we're confident that there are judges who will ultimately reach that decision that it's unlawful. It's both the process and the reach, and perhaps many of these cases will make it to the Supreme Court.
General, I got to admit, I am very impressed that in this game of defense, you have managed to find room to play offense. On Wednesday, Maryland and Baltimore sued Glock over the device enabling machine gun fire. Can you sort of talk us through that litigation and just the simple choice to bring it in the midst of everything else that is going on?
The Office of Attorney General, not just in Maryland, but around the country, day in and day out, we're busy, and we've been so before President Trump was elected, and we're going to continue to be so. Consumer protection, making sure we have competitive marketplaces, the criminal investigations enforcement we do. So, we were teeing up a lawsuit against Glock. Glock is irresponsibly selling into our communities pistols that can be easily modified with an auto sear to convert it into a machine gun. Other manufacturers have been able to prevent that type of easy modification. So we're in court saying, look, Glock has to stop. They sell guns in Europe that cannot be easily modified. So we're saying, hey, stop pushing these guns that are easily modified into machine guns. And we're asking for a monetary recovery to address the harms that they have contributed to. Look, I hear people say, guns don't kill, people do. I can assure you that in Maryland, we are investigating and prosecuting those who unlawfully use handguns to kill and harm residents in Maryland. We are doing that. We're bringing actions. They're difficult against gun shops. And yes, we're going to bring actions against gun manufacturers, and Glock is one of them, and we filed the action on Wednesday. We're not going to allow this chaos in Washington to prevent us from protecting Marylanders here at home.
General, the next time we have you on the show, you have to come into studio so the chairman can give you a warm Maryland corner.
Thanks to go.
Welcome.
Get you to the Maryland corner. That's it.
Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown.
I look forward to that.
Thank you, sir.